Welcome to MCN and our series of videos where we talk to members of our MCN staff about the bikes they've been running in 2021. So this is KTM's 890R Adventure and this is Michael, MCN's sports editor. Welcome to our video.
Thanks, mate.
You've been running it, I see you've been using this bike.
I try.
Yeah. So just before we start, just tell us a little bit about your riding experience. You've got a lot of it.
Yeah, I've been riding since I was sort of 10 years old, trials, and then on the road, did a bit of road racing, done a bit of enduro, done a bit of rally stuff, and now my thing's more kind of adventure riding.
Yeah.
So sort of, off-road trips on these sort of bikes.
Yeah. So Michael's our kind of resident off-road expert, and when we need a difficult bike to ride, you're the one who rides it because we're useless off-road. But so how long have you had this bike? How many miles have you done on it?
I've had it since the end of March, and I've done about 4,600 miles, which isn't enough, really.
I think that's the story of our long-term fee this year, because we're all working from home as well, aren't we?
Yeah, working from home, so less miles then, and just less opportunity. Normally I try and do at least one big foreign trip. I went to Northumberland this time. It was a good trip though.
Exactly. Well, here's a question, because it's a little bit of an elephant in the room when we test all of these adventure bikes and we go on foreign launches and ride them on these dusty trails. Where can you actually ride an adventure bike in the UK?
Well, more places than you think,
right,
to be honest. There's, I guess, the main one and one of the easiest ways is there's a route called the Trans-Euro Trail, the TET, which is kind of a community-derived resource where you have what they call linesmen and people in local areas assemble legal byways, green lanes, all throughout the country. Right. But this has now expanded all through Europe. I think it's up to something like 70,000 kilometres across 50 odd countries.
Yeah.
And this is a route that you can essentially download to your GPS. It's free, it's a free resource, and you can go and ride. The other ways is getting in touch and joining the TRF, which is the Trail Riders Fellowship, which again, it's a very active sort of community of people going out on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
They want to show you stuff, so you join up with them on Facebook and go for a ride with them, learn the routes that way. So right, there are options. That's why this is dirty. I live near St Albans, and I've kind of lived there for quite a long time, and I never really knew of many stuff out there. And I met up with someone, and we went out on Saturday, and we had a whole day riding around Hertfordshire. And sometimes we're in like within a mile of my house on stuff I've never known. So it is out there. You do have to look for it. You just need to be. There's obviously, motorcyclists aren't always the most welcomed in these situations. No. So I think the message I'd want to give is, be respectful and slow down. You don't. It's not a racetrack; it's a public right of way. So there's other people using it. But there's more than you think. You just got to go looking for it.
And you've taken advantage of all those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've ridden a lot of adventure bikes. So the other question I wanted to ask you is, as you're very experienced, is smaller better than bigger? Because you've got
without a doubt. I think look, don't get me wrong, I don't want to have to pick up any of them.
Yeah. They're
all 200 kilo plus. They're all good when you've got grip. I mean, you obviously mentioned we go on these launches and they're in Spain and it's dry. It's a very different proposition to riding in the UK in winter. These bikes, generally, if you've got grip, it's pretty amazing what they are capable of doing. If you've got a certain level of skill and you can keep momentum up, if you've got grip, they will go take you most places. Where it gets difficult is if you don't get grip, and obviously with this type of bike, you can't have such aggressive tyres on compared with like an enduro bike. Yeah. So that's the sort of thing you have to be take into account. But go out with a few mates so that you can always help each other out of the tricky spots.
So you would choose a smaller engine if there were two similar bikes in a bike's range. You choose the smaller one.
Yeah, definitely, because I think it's not that small. It's an
No,
890.
it's still a big
It's got
bike, isn't
100.
it?
It's got 100 or 105 horsepower. It's also a very, very capable road bike. So it really does. It really does tick all the boxes. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it's great because the adventure bike market the class seemed to just at one point just be getting bigger and bigger. It was like 1200, then the 1250 GS, and then 1290 KTMs, and what's the Multistrada up to now?
What's the V4?
V4, yeah. So so I mean, it was big power. But obviously, recently, we've seen this bike was a bit of a game changer, I think, for the market. The Tenere 700 has obviously been incredibly popular, and now we've got the new Aprilia, which I think looks really good.
Tuareg.
Yeah.
So how does this compare to this kind of genre of this engine category, this middleweight, I suppose you call them?
Yes, I mean, a few years ago we had offerings from like the Africa Twin, KTM 790. The Triumph, which are all that sort of BMW 850 GS, all that sort of 94 horsepower, very similar power, very similar torque. But then KTM kind of bucked the trend a little bit without making the bike any heavier, really. It's a little bit heavier. This is now the 890, and it's essentially got 10 horsepower more and 10 foot-pound of torque more, but the difference is pretty drastic, to be honest. When I first got on it, so I had a 790 in 2019, had a Triumph Tiger in 2020, very similar sort of power characteristic, well, very similar power output. And then I got on the 890, I was expecting sort of more of the same, but I was really being pleasantly surprised, sort of involuntary wheelies and, just...
Involuntary?
Involuntary, yes, I think I've got to say that. And I've also I've been camping with my daughter, so panniers and top box and a pillion, and just the extra bit of grunt does just make it that much nicer to ride. Just feels a bit more of a Grand Tour. I said it to you earlier, it feels a bit. If anyone's ever ridden a KTM 990 when that sort of came out, that sort of big kind of sort of bit of a Grand Tourer feel. It probably wouldn't feel like a Grand Tour in comparison to a V4 Multistrada, but at the time it was it really did. So you can probably tell I really like it.
So this particular bike, how has it stood the test of time? Has it been reliable? Is anything broken, fallen off of it?
So I've had no issues at all. Sorry, the only thing I've just noticed, I've had a slight misting of the dash, but I've only noticed it a couple of times. It is a problem. If you go on forums, people are talking about it. I think were getting replaced under warranty, but another unit would have exactly the same problem.
Exactly.
So I don't quite know the exact position now, but I've only noticed it a couple of times, and it's when it's day's not dissimilar to day, wet, moist, and I've just had a little bit of kind of, well, you can see it there.
Yeah.
You can just see it in that top corner. It's never actually gone onto the actual
And you're always
screen.
noticing it because you're looking at it the
But
whole
you
time.
notice, exactly. So that is literally the only thing I've had.
Oh, that's good. And if we come over here, tyres. So you know a lot about tyres when it comes to adventure bikes. What did it come with and what are you running?
So it comes on the Metzler Cruise, which are a kind of, I'd say a sort of 50-50 tyre. Yeah. But they're not really that good at either.
Right.
If I'm honest. They're sort of compromised on the dirt because it's quite a closed pattern. And as soon as you get clogged up, like I mentioned, if you've got no grip, they turn into 200 kilo, wildly things. It's not very much fun. And on the road, I never kind of felt particularly inspired by them. So I'm fortunate. I've got two sets of wheels for this. So I've keep these. This is the off-road set, which has got a set of Continental TKC80s, which are kind of they're a bit of a go-to tyre. They're an old tyre, but I've used them a lot. And the 80s essentially means 80% off-road focus, 20% road. So they need to be treated with respect on the road. When the temperature comes down, when it's damp, cold days, you have to be careful. But on off-road, they're pretty good. Again, they can get a bit blocked up because the tread pattern is obviously a compromise, but they're quite a good shape in terms of the actual profile of the tyre, in terms of sort of cornering, and yeah, I mean, you've got over 100 horsepower. Even if you had the most aggressive tyre on it, it's going to be spinning up, but the electronics on the bike are also very, very good.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily a super fan of electronics. I've always sort of found I generally turn them off, if I'm honest. This is probably the first bike I don't do that on.
So they let you ride the way you want. That's good.
Yeah, the fact that you can adjust the level of traction control on the fly as you go, and it's kind of, they're not particularly intrusive. They will let you have fun, but they will just kind of stop you getting a bit out of control. That's how I found them, and also you've got different fuel mappings. So in terms of your throttle response, and again, you know, you must know this. There's certain bikes out there where you've got this sort of plethora of settings, but they don't really make such a great big difference.
No, exactly.
You know, this is really good. So you put it into off-road mode, and you almost you sort of think it's broken.
Yeah.
You know, it's really soft, really soft down the bottom end, which is great. You know, it's great to sort of get that grip going and get that traction. And then you've got a street mode in between, and you've got a rally mode.
Yeah.
And the rally mode is, you know, it says, this is all we've got, and I'm going to give it to you. And so there is a real sort of tangible difference, which is nice.
So next question is, let's go back towards the back of the bike. We see this little R logo here.
Yep.
So this is the R model. So what is it that makes it the R, and is it any good?
Yeah, I mean, the main difference is suspension, basically. Right. So you've got I don't know the numbers, but longer travel, basically. Yeah. You've probably got 20 or 30 mil extra travel, front and rear, which obviously has the benefit of increasing ground clearance for one. But the Explorer R fork, the WP fork, and the shock, I tell you, for an adventure bike, the level of suspension is exceptional. It really is good. You know, it's adjustable. You've got under the seat, you've got sort of suggested settings for the type of riding and the type of weight you are. But, you know, you've got low and high speed compression damping on the rear shock. Yeah. You've got, you know, rebound, and, you know, you've got everything you would expect. But there's been times when I did the trip I mentioned up in Northumberland, and there was one particularly sort of rocky climb which you had to attack, you know, so you were, and I've seen the video, and, you know, the bars were almost sort of, you know, lots a lot, and I was watching it, and I remember riding it and thinking, that felt okay. Really? And I think it's the sort of stuff I've done on this, I think would tie a lot of bikes into knots.
When KTM do good suspension, it's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. Really, so plush, so easy. Yeah, and I tell you what's also quite interesting is you think, oh, I'm going to go off road, so I'm going to be like lots of clicks different to the road, and it's not. It's a few clicks here, it's a few turns of the compression. Yeah, it's not as drastic as you'd actually think. So again, it feels a very dialed in bike. It feels like, you know, it's like the electronics are a good example. You know, it's got different settings. They do actually make a difference. Yeah. The clicks on the suspension do actually make a difference. Wow, that's good. So tyres aside, have you done anything else to the bike? Different silencer. Yeah. Kropovich silencer. Which is that slip-on or? Yeah, not the full system, which saves weight. I mean, it's still got the cat in there, so it's not a huge saving. But then they put the rack on for the panniers, so wouldn't have saved any weight in the grand scheme of things. And my only main niggle with the bike is just the turbulence and the wind noise from the standard screen. And that's true of all adventure bikes and all tall roaders. They're all noisy, aren't they? Which is just the irony of it. You think, oh, it's going to be great weather protection, and like you say, they're all like that. You've got the big mirrors sticking up, and you've got so many things that can sort of, you know, and I experimented with different helmets. I put the
It's got 2 positions on that. I took it off.
Right.
Just to sort of try and understand what was sort of happening with it. I've tried the standard model, like the S model, has got a slightly bigger screen. So I tried that, which was not a bad option. And then I tested the screen from MRA, which was a lovely bit of kit actually, and did an amazing job, but was just too big. It looked really out of place with the bike, and it just, in terms of the eye line of the top of the screen, it was like exactly where you don't want it. So I've kind of gone for this sort of diffuser, which is, look, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's still a noisy bike. It's still a noisy bike to ride, but it's got rid of that sort of turbulence, that sort of vibrating of your head. And you know, I was off-road on it on Saturday, then I had to do another job on Sunday, rode 150 miles, one hit, didn't even sort of cross my mind to stop until I got there.
Right.
You know, it's pretty good, pretty competent.
So a couple of quick questions just before we wrap up. Is there anything else you'd want to do to this bike to improve it? Pretty much bang on as it is.
It's pretty good. I mean, I think the sort of things you'd possibly do is you'd maybe change the mirrors so that you could get you can get the sort of double tape mirrors which fold away and completely out your way for when you're riding, because sometimes when you're riding off road, when you're sort of up front and forward, the mirrors can be a little bit obtrusive in your way. Pretty minor thing. Not a lot. Not a lot. I mean, you know, the crash, people put some, you know, obviously the fuel tanks are down the bottom. People talk about putting crash protection on that sort of thing, but I was chatting to the guys at the KTM off-road experience at Sweet Lamb, and they've been having bikes for years. They've never had a broken tank. They've had scuffed protection, and they've had quite a few fallers kind of thing. I'm not saying you couldn't damage them, but no, I mean, it's good. It's a good bit of kit.
So, and finally, $1 million question, would you buy one?
Yes.
There you go. No hesitation.
No, I wouldn't, because it's, like I said, you know, we're lucky. We get to ride all sorts of bikes, and we ask that question. And I've had times where I've sort of thought, oh, you know, you'd go 1290. I am a KTM fan, you know, let's get that out there. You know, I do like them. I do enjoy them. I enjoy the rawness of them. Yeah, they're not perfect. Engine's noisy, etc., etc. There are some reliability issues on some of them. Personally, I haven't had those. But I think this, as a bike, is a really good compromise, because I'd happily do big miles on it. Even if I had to suck it up on the motorway, I wouldn't be worried about it at all. But then when you get somewhere, you can genuinely have, you know, it feels, a bit of a cliche, feels like a big dirt bike. It's a very big dirt bike, but it's got that sort of inherent sort of DNA, and it's good fun.
Sounds like you've enjoyed your time with it. Sad to see it go.
I just wish I could have done more. You know, just it's been one of those where I, you know, would have loved to have done some other big trips. But
brilliant. Thank you very much.
No, it's my pleasure.
Thank you for watching, and check out our forthcoming long-term videos coming up on this channel soon.